Hi, my name is I am. My name is answering me, my questions that I have asked for so many years, decades, during my life, this life of. My name is love, and I hope yours is too. My name is teaching me that I am one. I am teaching what that means and how to accomplish it, not but to come into the surrender that begets the child, the child of promise, the promised child, the promised child, the promised child that's you, the promise given to you to make it known. And this is the new covenant. The covenant that transcends all covenants, that transcends time, space, gravity, molecular worlds, dimensions. Is that a little better? I don't know. You see, I'm not trying to be formal or have an elegant presentation. I'm just me. And I'm learning to be me still. I'm still learning to be me at 73. And all that I know, all that I've written, all that I become, I'm becoming me. The Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Because I wanted to know. I wanted to know God. I wanted to know Jesus. And I wasn't willing to know about. I wanted to know personally. I wanted to feel their heartbeat. I wanted to know where they hurt. They, plural. And it's a costly thing to find out who you are. It's a costly thing to be a real me. Me. A meonic self. MEONICS. A particle, a wave, an energy. Pardon me, an energy not dependent on particles or waves. An energy of something else. What else shall we call it? A something. I love you, and my name is Theodore Cottingham, and I have a school. And my school is me. I am my school. I am in my school. My school, you see, is these words. These words are me, and I am my words. I become my words, for I have let my words flow through me. My words of love, my words of creation, and not words of condemnation where I condemned me before I got off the block. Or am I in slavery no more to myself, a thought world of? You see, I wanted to know me, but I didn't know it was me. I wanted to know God. So I was a Christian Orthodox zealot, but I wanted to know more. I wanted to know more than I heard from any pulpit. I had so many questions. And I learned those who spouted all those messages weren't interested in answering my questions. And even if I could get a meeting and met with them, they weren't interested in what I had to say or ask. They were interested in being the authority and condemning me quickly for my inquisitiveness. They did, without fail. I wanted to know more. I thought, I'll go in, I'll find out. I can find out. Which led me on a quest. And one of the first parts of my quest, I suggest to you, may be valuable to you, that you do the same. I thought, I have to decide what I believe. At this moment, what do I believe? I mean, what do I believe? Not what did my parents teach me, or did the pastor say, or even what I think the Bible says. What do I believe? And I had some idea of getting it down to the fewest words possible. What do I believe? Where do I go from here? I mean, I started back, do I believe there's a God? A God. And I finally decided after a period of months, I decided there is something. There is a higher power, a higher authority. There is something, whether I call it God or not. There's something. So that was the first thing. That was the first element of the kernel of my foundation to spring off of. And the second thing I believed, my second belief that I came down to, I decided if there is a God, it communicates. It's not silent. It, whatever it is not withholding itself from me. The knowledge. So I decided there's something more than I know. There's something of a higher power, and that higher power communicates, willing to communicate. And so that led me to the third item. If I'm not hearing, if I'm not being taught by what this is, if I'm not being taught directly by the higher power, I will change, because I no longer wanted to go through a man. The pompous arrogance with which so many speak, condescendingly, to common people, breaks my heart. not, but I shall break that arrogance off of the common few, not, but the mighty many. And my name is, I am one. One simple one, O-N-E. I'm a simple guy, 73. And who am I? I have come unto the knowledge of the faith, not but love. And love has taught me directly because I quested into it to know it. And it's very costly. It's the most costly thing you can find out is love. You think things are hard in school, rigorous scholastically. Wait till you start coming to you. Are you willing to give up to go in? And what do these phrases mean, and how am I using them? And how will you use your phrases, your syntax, your diction and grammar to describe your quest and what you find out? I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. What does that mean? Who said that? Who does it apply to? So, of course, it's been interpreted a certain way. To elevate and separate, to separate and isolate, to isolate and conquer. See, the whole idea of religion is to classify, categorize, and control. What I'm sharing with you is worth more than gold. And please hear me. This teaching, this one video, does not stand alone. I've been recording channelingly for 21 years. I started with a yellow tablet, a pen, and I would write. And I would go back to my office and type them up and post them to a website and an email list. And I would learn. And I began to experience learning this way, where I would sit and write surrenderedly without edit, because I learned very quickly, as soon as I thought about editing it or changing the word flow got all balled up. It was like there was an energy in motion. It was like a fishing rod and reel that one might cast out. And while it's going out, while you cast out, the reel is spinning. But a time more than I want to admit, the line would get clogged somehow, get off track. And all of a sudden, in a matter of a few seconds, I had a ball, a mess of this line to unravel. There's a flow. There's an energy to the flow of surrender of love, to hear love, to communicate with love. And if you want to know love, you won't demand that it teach you a certain way with a certain syntax. I suggest to you, love does not teach line by line, precept by precept. Any rote method of learning, any common system of chance, any formula of Bible study and prayer won't get it. It doesn't work. Oh, wait a minute. That's the problem. It does work, but not like we thought. It gives us not what we thought we wanted if you wanted what I wanted. I don't know that you want what I want. I don't know that you're willing to pay the price. The price is time. The price is decision after decision after decision, day after day, after month, after year after year. Because you're seeking something. I was seeking something. I can say all kind of words that provide certain linkages into it now that I didn't have then. I was wandering around like a bumbling fool part of the time. I wasn't just curious. I was on a quest. I was desperate. I wanted to know. I decided I was going to live this life for the next one. Now, I wouldn't say it that way today. But I'm a simple guy. And I thought, if this is about eternity, and I may die in 70 or 80, 90 years, by George, I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out why I'm not being taught directly by that which I think is love, the creator of the universe. So it was my quest. So yes, I've given many more details about my path in the past, and not to recount all of them. But yes, in October of 88, I began going to what was commonly called at that time early morning prayer, an hour a day, 6:30 to 7:30, at a chapel near my house. And that's when my prayer life began to have a little life in it. And I experienced all sorts of things. And when I first started going, to pray an hour a day was, how do I pray an hour? Pray. And I differentiate that. I distinguish this from Bible study. This is not singing songs. This is not about some kind of worship. This is not about an activity, of the way so many describe it. Prayer, communication, the opening of my heart. And I thought, how do I open my heart? And I began to go in every morning, kneel down behind the last pew, and pour out my heart. I didn't know what else to do. So much of what I've done on this path, it just simply, I didn't know what else to do. But I wouldn't stand still. I wouldn't become stagnant. I was never satisfied by the words of man. And when I went to those in authority and experienced the crushing blows to my spirit, the wounding, I had no confidence in them because I had felt their motive. And they were more interested in protecting what they thought was their power and authority and position than answering my question. None of them offered to get down on their knees with me. Not a one wanted to read anything I had written that I had channeled. And the only one that did the next day or the next Sunday preached against those who thought God would communicate them with them directly to the whole congregation. Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I mentioned I did an hour a day for about 7 years. That was one season. And then about 1995, I started going to these Passion for Jesus conferences. And all this time, there was a quest. And during this time, there was a season where I kind of felt like God spoke to me. A sentence, usually a sentence, a phrase. And I'd write it down. The time came one day, I was at my office. I was working at my office. I wasn't thinking anything holy, spiritual, divine. And all of a sudden came this communication. How shall I say? It's not really a voice. Even though I've taught about the voice of God many times, I don't call it a voice anymore because I don't register as a voice as much as I register it as a communication, an energy, a stream of energy, a stream of love, a stream of something transcendent of our molecules and the energy that dictates the limitations of this present world. And that short communication was, you don't value my words. I set my pen down and slid my chair back and pondered that. I thought, I don't. I've been writing things down. I'm questing to know, etc. And then I thought, there's no reason to be defensive. There's no reason to present my case. And I thought, okay, what do I do? So I began asking. And I would ask more and more. My questions became more and more succinct, focused, and continuous. That's when I began, I think, carrying around a yellow tablet with me all the time. I mean, I had a yellow tablet beside my bed, both my cars, and I would write. And there's so much more to the story, but then there was this idea. If I give value to them, I organize them. They're not a lot of scrap paper. They're not a lot of notes written on various sizes of paper. Pardon. So I began to take some pride, take some value my notes, value the things I thought God was communicating with me. I would date it, place the time and date on every piece of paper. And if it was more than one sheet of paper, I would, after I finished, write one of two at the top, or two of two, or whatever, so I'd know how many pages. But it was in 2003. I walked into that little chapel near my home that I'd gone into so many times over the past, well, from 88 to 2003. But I went that day and the church was locked. I don't, so many details. It was locked. I thought, what? So I walked around to the entrance where the church secretary entered. I knew there was a buzzer. So I hit the buzzer. And I said something about who I am, and I was there to pray in the chapel. And of course, they knew my name. They knew me. So they hit the buzzer, and they had a lock installed. And no, I think they walked around and let me in. And I walked through the sanctuary to the little chapel. It was all different. I can only approximate the best I can with certain words and phrases to try to describe. It was all different. And I had a knowing. It was over. That season of going to that place, the way I had done, was over. I mean, it was like, this was not something that I'm talking about I wondered about. It was over. And it was so decisive and so complete. I just stood there. I never did sit down. I mean, I stood there just kind of, taking it in. And I do remember at one point thinking, what do I do now? See, there's so many times that I think we miss so much because we rush it. We operate at a certain pace. We command, we demand, we insist, instead of coming in humility. So it's not that I waited a long time, but I didn't rush it. And I had no words. But a picture came to me. A picture came to me of a set of steps of a certain cathedral in Tulsa. And it was kind of like some kind of sense of envisioning. I interpreted that. I responded with thinking, that's where I go. That's my next step. So I drove downtown and I went in. I walked up those steps and I met the receptionist, told her my name, and asked her if they had a chapel that I could pray in. She was so gracious. Said, oh yes, follow me. So after I'd gone there for maybe just a matter of weeks. I don't remember quite. But see, up to that point, it was still an hour a day. Whereas one morning I was there. I'd just been to the washroom and I was coming back. I wasn't even sitting down. I wasn't being wholly divine or in any receptive position. I was walking back to the little chapel in that big building to sit down. And I felt like there was this communication. Will you give me your mornings? And again, it was without doubt. It was decisive, complete. I literally thought my mornings, and literally I went, thought, my mornings, my whole morning? That will affect my income. Boy, did it ever. I'll tell you how it affected me. Not only was that my first thought, I was afraid to answer yes or no. Honestly. And I responded with going, I laid down on the front pew to ponder, will I give God my morning? And what does morning mean? 5 days a week, 7 days a week, 9 to 12, 8 to 12. What does that mean? No response, no inclination, no communication. It was all up to me. And I began to realize that at some point. And so I began to respond. I thought I've not come this far to stop now. So whatever this means, I'm walking through it. Costly decision. You see, it's costly to know love. When you want to know real love, not pseudo. When you want to know transcendent love, it's the most costly thing of all, and it will cost you all that you have. It will cost you all that you are. And that's why I say on my website, my school is the costliest school on earth. Because it costs you everything you think you are. Everything you think you've been taught. Your origin, your identity. How the earth formed, your worldview. What you think your destination is. How you get there. How you're to operate. Is all fashioned and given to you by frameworks of people invested in the perpetuation of those frameworks, to keep perpetuating those frameworks, to keep their position, power, and importance. The blind leading the blind. This is the costliest school on earth. When you want to know love, true love, love that doesn't abandon you, love that cannot abandon you because it cannot be extracted and used. It cannot be contrived. The kind of love I'm talking about does not come to you with conditions. a list of demands, of any requirement that you worship it. Period. Love does not want your worship. So, of course, that immediately sits at right angles the idea of the authority of the Ten Commandments and the God that gave those Ten Commandments being the God of love. So my questions increased, and I learned day by day. And I made the changes that I needed to make to begin to spend my mornings. And not long after that, in March 2003, I felt I had one of these phrases from God. And I picked up my pen and I wrote, but by the end of the phrase, I had another phrase, and at the end of that sentence, I had another sentence, and at the end of that paragraph, I had another paragraph, and I wrote several pages longhand. And you can read it. It's all typed. You can search it. It's online. There's a link on my website, and my website is me. My website? No, my words are me. The energy, the communication, the message. What is the message? You're the one. But see, I didn't know how to deal with any of that. Sorry. I had no precedent for what I was experiencing. And I learned very quickly. Well, I say this hesitantly. I learned the value of keeping my mouth shut. But that was a hard lesson to learn. Just because I know something didn't mean that I'm supposed to repeat it. And so many people, they don't want to be challenged. They don't even want to think there's more. I hope you do. There's more. There's more than you know. There's more than I have taught you. There is more yet to come. And it never ends. Truth is a flow. And the flow of truth is costly. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes surrender. The requirement? You see, the requirement of love is not a list of commandments, do's and don'ts. How ridiculous. I'll tell you what the commandment of love is. Love one another. Love. Let love be your name. Your name right here across your forehead. Love in two shoes, your name. Where you become the body and blood on earth of that love. Love that knows no color boundary, no smell boundary, no isolation, no limits, because you're no longer limiting your love to what you think the Bible says about it or some pastor preacher. When you decide you want to know who you are, it's the most costly of all. Period. Do you get it? This is the message. You can learn from me. You can learn from the Bible. You can learn from Jesus the Pattern, the book that I've written. You can learn from a lot of people and a lot of things. But when you're ready to quit dilly-dallying around and you want to know not just about the truth, but you want to know truth directly, not vicariously, not through a man, not through another person. When you want to know truth, truth will begin to teach you. And I stand on that because I am that. And this is my message to you this day. Whether you call it channeling or not, whether somebody wants to label you daft, new age, cannot matter, because you become focused on what you believe, what you want, because you are the deciding factor. There's no predestination. You are deciding in real time how you respond to this message and what you want from you and what you're willing to do to get it. What are you willing to do? Crawl on nails? Walk through flames? Are you willing to sit still? Are you willing to give an hour a day to listen? To let love teach you directly? An energy that's transcendent. If you're not willing to spend an hour a day that is valuable to you, that you set aside, that you cut off your damn phone, you cut off the communication of everything else, and you value that time where you woo love and you begin to love love and you court it like a romance, because it is a romance. It's the romance of love loving love, love developing love, love giving the seeds of love and you nurturing them to be the life of one. The first shall be last and the last shall be first, because there's only one. And when you begin to see that, it's devastating to theology. It's devastating to the principalities and powers of this earth and all the religions of the world, because you begin to learn how much you're loved. Love is a flow. Love will teach you day by day. What did I do? I didn't do it right. I didn't do it wrong. I just did what I did, and I'm sharing with you what I did. Not that you canonize my path. They don't want you to follow me. I want you to love love and let love speak. And let love channel where you open that channel, not of grace, the way it's taught, where somebody else did something for you. I'm talking about where you walk into the lion's den. And you walk through the flames of the fiery furnace, the flames of doubt, fear, unbelief. Where you decide, my friend, what you want, and you go after it with a tenacity, with a focus, with a I will not be denied across your forehead. And you do what it takes. And what it takes for you is different than what it took for me. For years, when I first felt like God began to speak to me very much, here come these words. Set your alarm at 2 a.m. to meet with me. So I did. Sometimes I'd hear my alarm, I'd get up easier than others. Sometimes it was almost painful to get up. I'd be so tired. But I did that for several years. And I sensed when that was done that I no longer needed to. So giving my mornings, I simply decided my target would be 8 to 12, 5 days a week. And I began to write. And those first 2,400 lessons became database 1. 2,400. They are numbered. They are organized into databases, and every database has a certain number of volumes, and every volume has a certain number of lessons. And all of them are different. So that you can reference them. So like when I mention a movie, I mention a funny word, something you think is an oxymoron or a hyphenated word or a new word. Of course, you can search it on the web, a dictionary. You can also look it up in database 1. And I call database 1 now my covenant. I had no idea when I was writing it would be my covenant. But it's my covenant. It's my covenant with me. First person words of God, first person words of me. I became not separate. And this is the message, that you can become not separate from what you thought was God or that higher power, source, universe, love. My message, maybe most of all, is that love will teach you directly so that you need not go through the voice. You'll know for yourself. And you see the words that you write and speak yourself when love teaches you that come through you have a power, ability, authority, a presence. A tenderness that others don't have. So a lot of people supposedly tell the story of dying and coming back to earth or whatever they describe, going through death, experiencing death. Something like going through a tunnel and seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. Some will call that light Jesus or whoever they think they may have worshiped, God, whatever. I suggest to you, when you know who that light is, that light is you. We didn't know. We've been taught it was somebody else, something else. We've been taught about God being separate, keeping us separate. We haven't learned that we are the power of creation. You see, you look at me. It's not that I, Theodore, a flesh man, a tangible, molecular, touchable, 5 sense mind, perceivable, visual, person is what you're really after seeing, is it? The, the stream of energy that I'm talking about, light language that comes, it does not form the syllables in your mouth. What I am speaking with is a tenderness to surrender to this power, the power of love. Not the love of power, but the power of love. Love that is unconditional. Love that does not give you a list of demands. Love that does not keep a record of wrongs. Love that does not say, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of a living God. All that kind of rubbish, that's all what we've been told to think. And because we all are creators, we create what we believe. Even if it's only in us, what we call our mind. Then our mind solidifies it, our mind concretizes it, confirms it, corroborates it. Yet there's so much more to the story. When you see the light at the end of the tunnel, when you see who you really are, when you're willing, focused, disciplined, you'll spend time. But again, it's very costly. It's very costly. Costly is the most costly thing. An hour a day is an absolute minimum. Why do I say that? That's not just my logic talking. It's within the words that I've been given multiple times. In the school, an hour a day. You're just playing around. You're not spending an hour in love, with love, to surrender to love, to hear love's words and write them, to speak them, record them, and learn from them. You're just playing around. An hour a day is a minimum. And for the serious, 3 hours. 3 hours a day minimum. Do you hear me? 3 hours a day minimum. If you're serious, this is a school. This is the school of me, who looks in your mirror and sees your energy, your being, your essence, your true nature. Your energy, or the real you, is not separate from what you thought was the light in the tunnel or the one that you'll meet when you die who judges you. Because the judgment is right now. It's happening right now. Every day. Every time you look in the mirror. Every time you judge yourself unworthy. To know, to hear, to walk into the presence of the Most Holy. You're deciding every moment. And I'm asking you to decide that you're worthy. And it's not only, but I want you to realize it's not about worthiness, it's about love. There is no fear in perfect love. So the whole system of God, devil, devil, God, hell and heaven, that whole system, you see, the entire framework that we've been given of God and the demands that God makes and the punishment for not seeking God, all of that we lay aside. Every last bit of it. All of it. Now, after you lay aside the whole thing, after you lay aside my book, database one, your Bible, you lay that aside. You come before love naked. You don't come in a suit of armor. Naked, no pretense, no religious mantras, no famous prayers, no Nicene Creed. No, you come absolutely naked. Naked? There was a while I took communion at 2 a.m. Not very often, but a few times naked. I mean, naked in flesh. Isaiah went naked 3 years, didn't he? Or do you know that? We're coming into the knowledge of God, rightly dividing the word of truth, so that truth and almost truth you see being divided. You're now getting to the point, if you're with me, if you're in this school, of dividing truth that is perfect love, that existed before time, space, and gravity, that existed before the concept of a deity ever existed. Going back to original source love. Dividing from that perfect original source love that which taints, that which is blended, that which is so close to the truth that you don't know the difference. My friends, love will teach you. And there's a whole lot of stuff that is so near the truth that if you want to know the truth, you lay down. You lay down this other stuff. You lay down most of what we've been taught. And we learn a new learning system. And that new learning system is within you. Because original source love is inextricable. I showed you this picture in a recording a few days ago. It's not a perfect picture. It's simply a tool. It's a visual that maybe can be of value to us. I don't want you to go through what I have gone through. I don't want you to take you as long as it's taken long for me to understand what I'm sharing with you. Why am I sharing with you? Love told me that I help people get in 6 months what took me 6 years. And see, that was over 10 years ago. You see, I understand. I understand John 14:12. If you believe in me, you will do the things I do, the works I do, and greater. I began to study the words in red. I began to study the parables. I began to study the miracles. I began to study the nuances. Because the words of Paul didn't mean nearly as much to me as the words in red. I studied Isaiah. 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 I studied. Love will give you beauty for ashes. Love does not give you a list of demands. It's time to rightly divide the word of truth from truth that looks like truth, feels like truth, smells like truth, tastes like truth, that we want to be true because it's so comforting to believe all this is done for you. No, the idea of going to the cross. My friend, don't go to a wooden cross, but you effectuate the same result because you lay down your life. This life of flesh, torment, lack, conflict. We begin to see it's not so costly to give up pain and suffering for perfect beauty. Is it really? The perfect you is the real you. You see, the real you is the perfect you, me. Who is me? One. One what? One who will be it. The message of Jesus was always to be me, be who I am, do what I've done, become what I am. You are the creator of you. You created you. You're the one at the end of the tunnel. You're the one at the end of your life. Or will you break out of the cycle of constraint, out of the cycle of slavery to the flesh? Will you begin to open, to learn from within you that you created you? You are your own creation. We haven't known, we haven't understood. We haven't thought it was reasonable in our own cognitive powers because the mind of flesh is a creation created by us. You see, what you're looking at is my creation of me. But I'm no longer limiting me to my creation of me, seeking a higher power outside of me. I'm beginning to realize I am the first and the last. And you are too. Because all of us in our true state of original source energy, original source love, in this state, we are all connected. And we don't need syllables to communicate. We don't need wings to fly. Because this world of time and space and molecules of fear, control, and powers that want to exhibit themselves over us are all a part of the creation of the Lord God creating man the Lord God? All of us are a Lord God because we're all the offspring of God or original love. And there have been many iterations along the way. But when you begin to learn that you are the creator and you created you, you begin to see, you begin to open up to a different framework, a different beginning, a different ending. And all of this idea of separation now, all of this chapter in world history of separation is about to come to a close. And those who will be us will be the ones who stop the cycle. The cycle of what? The cycle of slavery. The cycle of you being limited to your flesh, wanting a soul, trying to be complacent, wanting to be contented, wanting your little blanket, your story of God, your Santa Claus. The love of one is coming forth, not with a vengeance. The love of one is coming forth with humility. And that's why I say arrogance will not lead this nation. We will no longer be a nation under God because we will no more be separate. We are not usurping God's authority. What I'm calling love is rejoicing because we are finally maturing to know who we are. The real me is you in your mirror. If you want to know the real me and my words begin to flow yours, begin to surrender to know first-person love. And realize and study these messages I've given you, especially over recent months. Separating love from unlove, separating love from God, separating love from fear, letting unconditional love be for you first, for your love to love you, for you to enjoy the romance. And be the real you, limitless. Because see, this moment is coming just like the moment when I walked in that little chapel and I absolutely knew beyond any shadow of any doubt it was over. My time there was over after those years. You see, one day, revelation by revelation, you put this together, you assemble it, because you become it. You become the message. You no longer carry a message of air and fail to birth. The air breathes the newborn creation of the original love into place so that you will birth a newborn creation of the real you. And you will no more be limited to all the molecules and all the commands and the demands. Because what you birth is the new you. Not separate in your mind, but conceiving the new birth of the one mind, the one that we all are, connected like in this state, but visible to those still on earth, so that those who are limited on earth will hear the message that they are no more limited to this world if they're willing to create themselves anew in the unlimited venue of perfect love. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. When you know who you are, you'll know that's you. And you will say it. Because it will be love. Love created. Love born. Love birthed. And all the limits around you with their words and the authority of their words and the pictures of their words and the slavery of their words that have controlled beings of light collapse. And the wounds that have hurt will be healed by you who choose to heal you from death, so that life you walk in a new way, a new view, a new reality. I love you. Thank you for sharing this time. I haven't said everything perfectly, have I? Or have I? It's for you to decide. It's for you to create. The new birth is for you to create. Create with your love, of your love, in you, the mother. The seed has gone forth. I have given you the seed. The seed is the word. You can't birth from my seed. You must birth from yours, where you learn to channel, to flow the words of love, where you receive the seeds of love into you that form your womb. That's what Jeremiah 31:31 is about. A woman, a womb shall encompass you. This is what the new birth is. And you woo that word flow day after day, whether you set your alarm at 2 a.m. or not, and you get up and write. Even though you don't know how the heck to do it, you begin. You begin in simplicity of surrender. You begin as a little child. There's no arrogance. There's no Bible. There's no hell that will stand between you and love as you learn to give yourself to love, to be love in your shoes. And that's what I'm asking you to do, to become the real you. That's what me is in meonics, the study of meology, the real me, because there's only one. The real me, the eternal me, the interconnected me. This was just a creation. It shall no longer be limited. And soon non-existent. And we will be who we are again in love, light, peace, and joy all over the cosmos and farther. Study these words. Study them. Begin to release yours without fear. Learning to let love caress you. Caress you. Bring love a rose. A cracker, a cookie, a cup of coffee. Please don't be so religious about it. Be creative. Be the creator. And create you without the words of man fashioning your form again. And let everyone know, at their core, at the very core of their existence, is pure light and love that needs not syllables to communicate. Experiences no lack, no longer worried about their shape, their diet, their bank account. We're all one. The one, we are all the first and the last. We are all the Alpha and the Omega, the perfect one. I'm Theodore Cottingham in Eureka Springs for now, at this moment. I don't know where I'm going. I just know my life is changing. And I pray yours is too, because I pray for you. No, I pray to you. You are who I'm praying to in this message. For you to light your love and love your light, no matter what you look like to you, no matter what you've done to you in the past or whatever anybody else has done to you. The real you is pure love, original source. Before God was ever a thing of the past. Because time, you see, doesn't work like we've been taught or thought. And now it shall all change in the twinkling of an eye. You be the one. I choose you. Thank you for choosing you also. The first shall be last and the last shall be first, because there's only one. You're the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And any life of separation now, you no more hold, is a creation of you that imposes limits. Be the unlimited love of one and love all equally, of every nation, tribe, and tongue, every woman, every man, every youngster, every woman, incontinent or not, no matter how feeble, love them. Love them all. Let love be your mantra, your mantle, your very existence. And we will change it all. Thank you again so very much for the privilege of sharing with you my heart, my words, my love. I love you. Love each other. Love you first. The you in your mirror. Thank you. TheodoreCottingham.com. Contact me if you wish. I'm reachable. I'm teachable. I learn from you too. Thank you. Good day.